Welcome to Mega Stadiums. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest unanswered questions in world football. What is the future of Chelsea Stadium? Stamford Bridge has been the club's home for over a century, but in the modern era of massive arenas and soaring matchday revenues, Chelsea finds itself falling behind, even as the reigning Club World Cup champions. In this video, we'll explore the full story, from the historical and financial pressures forcing change to the two bold options on the table: a complete Stamford Bridge rebuild or a brand new 65,000-seat stadium in West London. And finally, we'll look at what happens next as key voices inside Chelsea's ownership prepare to make one of the most important decisions in the club's modern history. Chelsea Football Club has called Stamford Bridge its home since the club's founding in 1905. The ground itself dates back to 1877 and was initially an athletics venue before Gus Mears established Chelsea to occupy it. From 1905 onward, Chelsea have played their home games there ever since. For decades, Stamford Bridge was one of England's larger stadiums. As late as 2007, it was the seventh largest ground in the Premier League, ahead of many London clubs. But in the 2020s, that ranking has slipped dramatically. With state-of-the-art venues like Tottenham's 62,850-seat stadium, West Ham's 62,500-seat London Stadium, Everton's 52,888-seat Bramley-Moore Dock Stadium, and a return of Sunderland's 49,000-seat Stadium of Light to the Premier League. Stamford Bridge's 40,341 capacity now places it around 11th in the league. This relative drop isn't just symbolic. It carries serious financial consequences. Chelsea generates significantly less matchday revenue than its closest rivals. Club accounts and industry reports show that Stamford Bridge earns £30 to £60 million less per season compared to other Big Six clubs. The stadium's limited capacity restricts ticket sales, premium hospitality, and commercial opportunities on match days. This creates a major disadvantage in an era when top clubs increasingly rely on stadium income to fund operations and compete in transfer markets. Chelsea's leadership has long understood this challenge. Over the past 20 years, the club has explored multiple options to address its stadium limitations. In 2007, there was a bold but unsuccessful attempt to purchase land at the site of Waterloo Station. In 2012, the club made a high-profile bid to relocate to Battersea Power Station, a plan that was ultimately blocked. Then in 2017, Chelsea gained planning permission for a full-scale redevelopment of Stamford Bridge into a new 60,000-seat stadium. Despite architectural awards and political support, the plan was shelved indefinitely due to financial uncertainty, especially after Roman Abramovich faced visa issues and froze the project. A significant obstacle to all these efforts is the ownership structure of Stamford Bridge. The pitch and freehold are not owned by the club itself, but by a fan-led trust known as Chelsea Pitch Owners. This body, created to protect the heritage of the club, has the legal right to veto any move away from Stamford Bridge. Roman Abramovich attempted to buy the pitch outright in 2011, but failed to reach the 75% approval threshold. Since then, Chelsea's ownership has always had to work alongside CPO trustees, whose mission is to ensure that the club remains based in its historical home. Today, Chelsea is considering two primary paths to solve its stadium dilemma: a complete rebuild of Stamford Bridge, or the construction of an entirely new stadium nearby in West London. Both options come with enormous financial, logistical, and political implications. The first option, a total rebuild of Stamford Bridge, became more viable in October 2023 when Chelsea agreed to purchase around 1.2 acres of land adjacent to the stadium. This land acquisition, costing approximately £80 million, involves the Sir Oswald Stowmansion site. Owning this land would allow for a slight expansion of the stadium footprint and make a full-scale redevelopment more feasible. The current plan being discussed involves demolishing the existing stadium and constructing a modern 55,000-seat venue in its place. Estimates suggest this project would cost around £1.6 billion. It would likely require Chelsea to vacate Stamford Bridge for a significant period, possibly relocating temporarily to another London venue, much like Tottenham did when they played at Wembley during their stadium build. This solution preserves the club's historical location and satisfies CPO's conditions, but it is an engineering and logistical challenge due to the confined site and surrounding buildings. Furthermore, fans and residents may face years of construction-related disruptions. The second option is building a completely new stadium from scratch. The preferred location for this project is Earl's Court, a historic exhibition site roughly 1 mile from Stamford Bridge. This area is currently being transformed into a major residential and commercial district by the Earl's Court Development Company. Their master plan, however, does not currently include any provision for a football stadium. In fact, in September 2024, the company publicly stated that there were no plans for a Chelsea stadium on the site. However, the narrative shifted again in January 2025. Local government authorities, particularly Hammersmith and Fulham Council, signaled they would be open to supporting a new Chelsea stadium in the area if the project is tied to broader regeneration efforts. The suggestion is that building a modern football venue in Earl's Court could unlock infrastructure investment and serve as a financial anchor for the larger redevelopment. Reports suggest the proposed stadium could hold between 60,000 and 65,000 spectators and cost around £1.2 billion to £1.5 billion. While a new build would allow Chelsea to design a world-class venue from scratch, several obstacles remain. Land acquisition would be expensive and politically complex. The planning approval process will be lengthy. And perhaps most critically, the Chelsea pitch owners would still need to approve the move, something that cannot be taken for granted. For many fans, Stamford Bridge is sacred ground. In some, both options are technically possible. A rebuilt Stamford Bridge is more traditional and loyal to the club's heritage, but more complicated to execute. A new stadium in Earl's Court offers greater scale and modernity, but is politically riskier and may divide the fan base. Inside Chelsea's ownership group, there is currently no consensus on which direction to take. Badad Abelai, co-founder of Clearlake Capital and a key voice in the decision-making process, is said to favor rebuilding Stamford Bridge. He reportedly sees the 55,000-seat redevelopment as the right blend of tradition and modern business strategy. On the other hand, Todd Boehly, co-owner and public face of Chelsea's American ownership, is believed to be more open to the idea of a brand new stadium nearby. Boehly sees the opportunity to anchor a modern sports entertainment destination, similar to what Tottenham have done, with increased hospitality, corporate boxes, and naming rights value. It's a more commercially aggressive vision. What unites both perspectives, however, is the understanding that this decision is not immediate. Boehly has publicly stated that he views the stadium question as a decade-long challenge. In his words, he expected it could take 10 years from takeover to solution.
Long term, what we're working on is what's the stadium plan going to be. But, we only have a stadium that seats about 40,000. And to be able to upgrade the quality of the stadium and the size of the stadium, is really a priority for us over the course of the next decade. You're in the middle of London.
Right.
And, I think the good news is you're in the middle of London, but the bad news is you're in the middle of London.
Right.
That means a new Chelsea stadium, rebuilt or relocated, might not open until the late 2030s. This long horizon gives the club time to navigate the political, financial, and logistical complexities of either path. In 2025, the club has intensified its planning and analysis. Meetings have taken place between Chelsea's leadership and the Mayor of London. Hammersmith and Fulham Council has expressed willingness to support certain plans, particularly if they benefit the wider community. The Chelsea board has also brought in consultants and architects to study both options in detail. The Chelsea pitch owners continue to be a decisive force. Any relocation would need their approval. If the vote fails, the club would have no legal right to move the Chelsea FC name to a new stadium. This makes collaboration and persuasion essential. Ultimately, the future of Chelsea's stadium rests on aligning the visions of owners, fans, politicians, and planning authorities. The only certainty is that the status quo cannot last. Stamford Bridge, iconic as it is, no longer meets the demands of modern football economics. A major transformation, whether in the form of a rebuild or a bold new home, is not a matter of if, but when. And that's the full picture of Chelsea's stadium dilemma. A historic home under pressure, two ambitious solutions, and a decision that could shape the future of the club for generations. Whether they rebuild Stamford Bridge or move to a brand new super stadium, one thing is certain. The next chapter will define Chelsea's place among football's elite. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let us know in the comments. What should Chelsea do? Rebuild or relocate? Thanks for watching. See you next week.